Hello and welcome to Daily Prelims Practice. Here we are going to take up the MCQs based on today's newspaper of The Hindu and Indian Express, which are important from UPSC Prelims exam perspective. The topics for today's discussion are listed on your screen. So let us start the discussion. The first question of today's discussion is based on this news article which has appeared on the page number 10 in The Hindu. It basically talks about the recent controversy which has erupted in the state of Tamil Nadu, where the governor Mr. N. Ravi has walked out from the assembly after a protest by the DMK government in the assembly. Many of you must be aware why this protest has started in the assembly. For those who are not aware, let us briefly discuss what has happened in the State Assembly of Tamil Nadu. During the customary address, the governor has skipped few portions of the speech which was given to him by the DMK government, and after that the protest has erupted in the assembly. In response to that, Governor N. Ravi has moved out from the assembly. As we all are aware that governor is an important constitutional office in the Indian political system. So, this area becomes important under the polity section of our UPSC Prelims exam, and UPSC has previously asked many questions on governor. Before moving on to the practice MCQ, have a look at this question which has appeared in the year 2014. In this, UPSC has specifically asked about the discretionary powers of a governor. In this question, you are being given 4 statements, and out of these statements, you need to identify which of the following are correct. You can pause this video and try a hand on this. Now the practice question in this regard says, consider the following statements regarding governor. In this question, you have to identify which of the following statement is or are correct. The first statement says, he has been provided with both constitutional and situational discretion. This statement is correct, as governor of a state has been provided constitutional and situational discretionary powers. For example, reservation of a bill for the consideration of president is one of the constitutional discretionary power which has been provided to the governor under the Indian Constitution. And on the other hand, the situational discretionary powers, they are mostly related to the exigencies of the prevailing political situation in the state. If any political party does not get the majority in the elections, then governor has the discretionary power to select the leader of the majority party as a chief minister and provide him the sufficient time to prove majority in the state assembly. So, this statement becomes correct. The second statement says, it is for the governor to decide if the matter falls under his discretion or not. It is again a correct statement, as our constitution makes it clear that if any question arises whether the matter falls under the discretion of governor or not, the decision of the governor is final. So, this statement again becomes correct. The third statement says, ordinance making power is a constitutional discretion of governor. It is an incorrect statement. You must be aware that governor can promulgate an ordinance only on the advice of Council of Ministers, which is headed by the Chief Minister. So, it is an incorrect statement. As we need to identify the correct statements, the answer to this question becomes C, which is 1 and 2 only. And the answer to the previous year question is B, which is 1 and 3 only. You can solve this question by elimination method also, as appointing the ministers is not a discretionary power which is given to the governor. Governor appoints the ministers on the advice of Chief Minister of the state. So, the moment you eliminate this, you will reach the correct answer. Now moving on to the next question, which is based on this news which has appeared on page number 19 in Indian Express. In this particular news, IMF has said that the fragmentation of global economy will reduce the global economic output by 7%. Now the reasons for this fragmentation are Russian-Ukraine war, COVID pandemic, and growing shift of world economies towards deglobalization. As IMF is an important institution which helps in regulating the world economy, we must be aware about the key facts which are associated with this particular body. In the year 2016, UPSC has asked about International Monetary and Financial Committee. So, such bodies and organizations are important for our prelims exam. In this question, you have to identify which of the following statement is or are correct. On the similar lines, we have designed one practice MCQ on IMF, and it says, with reference to IMF, consider the following statements. The first statement says, it is a major financial agency of United Nations which foster the global monetary cooperation. It is a correct statement, as IMF is a financial agency of United Nations comprising of 190 countries. It has been formed in 1944 at Bretton Woods Conference, and its mission is to foster the global monetary cooperation, secure financial stability, facilitate international trade, and reduce the poverty among the countries across the world. So, this statement becomes correct. The second statement says each member has given equal voting powers. It is an incorrect statement, as each IMF member country is assigned a quota, and on the basis of that quota, the voting powers of a country has been decided. So, there is no provision of equal voting powers in IMF. The third statement says it has launched resilience and sustainability facility to help low and middle income countries increase their resilience to long-term shocks like climate disasters and pandemics. It is a correct statement. As IMF has recently launched this facility to help the low and middle income countries in dealing with the long-term shocks. So, this statement becomes correct. As we need to identify the correct statements, the answer to this question becomes C, which is 1 and 3 only. And the answer to the previous year question is also C, as both of the statements which are given here are correct. And whenever you come across such international organization or body, just go to the official website and read about it. The next question of today's discussion is based on this news which has appeared on page number 12 in The Hindu. It basically talks about an event which Ministry of Home Affairs is going to organize to highlight the contribution of Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose. As UPSC has previously asked many questions on personalities who have contributed to the freedom struggle of India, you must be aware about such personalities. In the year 2018, UPSC has asked who among the following has written the biographies of Mazzini, Garibaldi, Shivaji and Shri Krishna. And he also stayed in America for some time and elected to the Central Assembly. You need to identify the correct answer from the given 4 options. The practice question which we have framed includes 3 statements, and you need to identify which of the following is or are correct. The first statement says, at the Haripura Congress session, Subhash Chandra Bose advocated the state-controlled economic development. It is a correct statement, as Subhash Chandra Bose was of the view that economic and industrial development should be controlled by the state. So, this statement becomes correct. The second statement says, Forward Bloc was set up in opposition to Indian National Congress. It is an incorrect statement. After the Tripuri session, Bose and his followers formed the Forward Bloc as a new party within the Congress, and its objective was to consolidate the political base in the country. So, this statement becomes incorrect. The last statement says National Planning Committee 1938 was set up under the chairmanship of Subhash Chandra Bose. It is again an incorrect statement, as this planning committee was set up in 1938 under the chairmanship of Jawaharlal Nehru. So, it is an incorrect statement. As we need to identify the correct statement, the answer to this question becomes B, which is 1 only. And the answer to the previous year question is C, as all these facts are associated with Lala Lajpat Rai. Now moving on to the next question, which is based on this news which has appeared on page number 10 in The Hindu. This news talks about the restructuring of Collegium system, which recommends the names of judges for the appointment in Supreme Court and High Court. Recently, Law Ministry seeks to form a panel which will have government representatives to shortlist and suggest names to the Collegium for the appointment of judges in the constitutional courts, which are High Court and Supreme Court. The issue with the Collegium system is in news since a very long time, and it has become a point of contention between the government and the judiciary, as Indian judiciary is an important theme in UPSC Prelims exam under Polity section. This area becomes important for our discussion. Now, before solving the practice MCQ, have a look at this question which has appeared in the year 2014. In this question, UPSC has asked that who among the following has the power to increase the number of judges in the Supreme Court of India. You are being given 4 options and you need to identify which of the following option is correct. The practice MCQ which we have designed on Collegium system says that with reference to the Collegium system, which of the following statements is or are correct. The first statement says, in third judge's case 1998, it was held that the advice tendered by Collegium is binding on government in all circumstances. It is an incorrect statement, as it was held that even if 2 judges give an adverse opinion, Chief Justice of India should not send the recommendations to the government. Hence, such recommendations are not binding on government. The second statement says, in second judge's case, 1993, court held that Chief Justice of India should consult a collegium of 4 senior-most judges in the matters of appointment of judges of the Supreme Court. It is again an incorrect statement, as this mechanism of consulting the 4 senior-most judges was finalized in third judge's case and not in second judge's case. So, this statement becomes incorrect. As we need to identify the correct statements, the answer to this question becomes D, which is neither 1 nor 2. And the answer to the previous year question is B, as Parliament has the authority to increase the number of judges of Supreme Court. The next question of today's discussion is based on this news, which has appeared on the page number 1 in The Hindu. And it says that trade deficit of India has widened by 12% due to the drop in export of goods. As you must be aware that the countries across the world are facing a problem of slowdown, and it is happening because of the multiple reasons. One such reason is Russian-Ukraine war, which has increased the oil prices across the countries in the world. It has further increased the prices of goods and reduced the demand in the economy. Another reason for such slowdown is the after effects of COVID pandemic. It has disrupted the supply chains across the world and impacted the demand in the economy. As trade is an important factor in the Indian economy, we must be thorough with this concept. In the year 2020, UPSC has asked about trade-related investment measures. In this question, you are being given 3 statements, and out of these 3, you need to identify which of the following is correct. And on the similar lines, we have designed one practice MCQ which says, which of the following factors are responsible for or signify trade deficit in an economy? From these 4 options, you need to identify which of them are responsible for the trade deficit. The first option says low domestic production. With a commonsensical understanding, one can figure out if domestic production is low, the exports of country will reduce and it will widen our trade deficit. So, it is an correct option. The second option says lack of competitiveness of domestic industry. It is again a correct option. If our industries are not competitive enough, the demand in the market for our goods will reduce and it will further widen our trade deficit. So it is a correct option. The third option says weak domestic currency. If our currency is weak, the imports of our country will become expensive and it will further widen the trade deficit of our economy. So it is again a correct option. The last option says low level of capital investment spending. If the capital investment is not happening, the products will not be produced efficiently by our industry and it will further impact the productive capacity of our industries and reduce the competitiveness of our products in the global market. So it is again a correct option. Hence, the answer to this question becomes D, as all of the 4 options are responsible for widening the trade deficit in the economy. And the answer to the previous year question is C, which is 1 and 3 only. Moving on to the last question of today's discussion, which is based on this news, which has appeared on page number 12 in The Hindu. It talks about the Shukrayaan-1, which is a Venus mission by ISRO, which has been postponed to 2031. The aim of this mission is to study the geological and volcanic activities on the Venus planet. As the space missions of ISRO and other international space organizations are important, under science section of our prelims exam, we must be aware about the nitty-gritties of such missions. In the year 2016, UPSC has asked about the Mangalyaan mission, which was launched by ISRO. In this question, you are being given 3 statements and you need to identify which of the following is or are correct. On the similar lines, we have designed one practice MCQ which says, consider the following statements. The first statement says, Japan's Akatsuki orbiter is the only spacecraft currently flowing around Venus. It is a correct statement, as this is the only spacecraft which is currently flying around Venus. The second statement says Shukrayaan-1 is a proposed orbiter plus lander to the Venus by ISRO to study the surface and atmosphere of Venus. It is an incorrect statement, as Shukrayaan is only an orbiter mission which will be studying the surface and atmosphere of Venus. So it is an incorrect statement. The third statement says NASA's Veritas and European Space Agency's Envision are planned Venus missions for 2031. It is a correct statement, as both of these missions are planned for 2031 by NASA and European Space Agency. As we are required to identify the correct statements, the answer to this question becomes C, which is 1 and 3 only. And the answer to the previous year question is also C, which is 1 and 3 only.